There is a particular kind of gray morning that exists in late spring, the sky not quite threatening rain but not offering sun either, the air carrying the smell of cut grass and distant weather, the world holding its breath in the specific way it does before something changes. It was on a morning exactly like that one that Nathan Ashford, 44 years old, Chief Executive Officer of Ashford Meridian Group, walked out the front door of his home on Garrison Lane with his car keys in his hand and his phone in his coat pocket and approximately 14 things on his mental agenda for the day, and found a small girl standing at his gate. She was perhaps 5 or 6 years old. She was wearing denim overalls over a long-sleeved shirt that had seen better days. Her hair was loose and tangled in the particular way of a child who had been outside for some time without a parent managing it. She was holding a stuffed rabbit, gray-brown, worn soft, one ear at a slightly different angle than the other from years of being held. Her face was dirty. She had been crying, recently, though she was not crying now. She had the specific expression of a child who has made a decision and is executing on it, which sometimes requires setting the crying aside temporarily. She was looking at Nathan through the bars of the gate with an expression that he would not, for the rest of his life, forget. He crouched down. "Are you all right?" he said. "Are you lost?" "No," she said. "I'm not lost. I know where you live. I looked it up." He looked at this small person who had looked up his address with the matter-of-fact certainty of someone who has completed a research project. "Can I ask your name?" he said. "Ren," she said. "My name is Ren Calloway." Something moved in his chest that he couldn't immediately account for, because Calloway was a name he hadn't heard in 6 years and had thought about considerably more often than 6 years should have required. "Okay, Ren," he said carefully. "What can I do for you?" She looked at him with those direct, serious eyes. "You fired my mommy," she said. "And now she can't pay for our house. And I need you to not do that." Her mother's name was Clara Calloway. Nathan had known Clara 7 years ago, when she was 28 and he was 37, and she had been brought in as a senior brand strategist for a campaign his company was running through an outside agency. They had worked together for 4 months on a project that had been excellent, and then she had moved on, as contractors did, and he had moved on, and they had exchanged numbers in the way of people who intend to stay in touch and then don't. Except that they had, for a brief stretch in the middle of those 4 months, been more than colleagues. Not dramatically, not with any particular formal declaration, simply two adults who found each other interesting and who had, for a few weeks, spent time together in ways that exceeded the scope of the project. She had left cleanly, the way she did most things, no drama, no extended goodbye, simply the natural conclusion of a contracted engagement, and he had thought of her occasionally, with the particular combination of warmth and mild rue that sometimes accompanies a connection that was real but didn't have occasion to grow into anything more. He had never had reason to wonder whether she had left with more than the project's final deliverables. He opened the gate. "Ren," he said. "I need to call someone and find out where your mother is. Can you tell me where she is?" "She's at home," Ren said. "She doesn't know I came. I took the bus." He looked at this child, 5 years old, he would later learn, who had taken a city bus alone to a neighborhood she had found on a map because she had a problem that needed solving and she had identified the person responsible. "Okay," he said. "Come inside. We're going to call your mom and let her know you're safe." "Are you going to unfire her?" Ren said. "I'm going to find out what happened," he said. "And then we're going to talk about it. Does that seem fair?" Ren appeared to assess the reasonableness of this proposal. "Okay," she said. "But I need you to know it's serious. We have to leave our house in 12 days. "I hear you," he said. "Come inside." He made 2 phone calls in the first 10 minutes. The first was to Ren's mother. Clara's voice, when she answered and heard his name, went through 3 distinct phases in approximately 4 seconds, confusion, alarm, and then a specific kind of controlled, careful quality that suggested she was managing something complicated internally while trying to keep her voice steady. "She's safe," Nathan said. She's here. She's fine. Oh God, Clara said. I woke up and she was gone and she's fine, he said again. She came to talk to me. A pause. I'll come get her, Clara said. Please, he said. And Clara, we need to talk. Another pause, this one longer. Yes, she said quietly. I know. The second call was to his head of human resources, who told him, after approximately 4 minutes of file review, that Clara Calloway had been employed as a senior strategist in the brand communications division, had been caught in a division-wide restructuring 6 weeks earlier, and had been one of 12 positions eliminated in the cost reduction process. Her severance had been standard, her performance reviews excellent, and there had been nothing exceptional about her case in the restructuring file. Nathan sat with this information. He looked at Wren, who was sitting on his kitchen stool eating a piece of toast that he had made because she had, when asked if she wanted something, said yes with the pragmatic directness of a child who is hungry and sees no reason to pretend otherwise. She had one ear of the stuffed rabbit between her fingers as she ate, the specific comfort gesture of a child performing confidence while drawing on her reserves. Is the rabbit's name anything? He said. Gerald, she said. That's a good name for a rabbit. He's been with me since I was a baby, she said. He's very old. He looks well loved, Nathan said. Wren looked at Gerald with the solemn, proprietary love of a child assessing a long-term companion. He is, she said. He helps me when things are hard. Is things hard right now? Nathan said. Mom cries sometimes, Wren said. When she thinks I'm asleep. She tries not to let me hear. But I can tell. Clara arrived 22 minutes later. She came through the gate that Nathan had left unlocked, walked up the drive with the specific quality of someone who is managing a very large feeling with a very composed exterior, and found her daughter at the kitchen counter eating toast with Gerald on the stool beside her. She crossed the kitchen and put her arms around Wren and held her for a long moment without speaking, and Wren tolerated this with the patience of someone who understands it is needed even if the official business of the morning has not yet concluded. You took the bus, Clara said, into her daughter's hair. I looked up the route, Wren said. It wasn't hard. You should have told me. You would have said no. Yes, Clara said. I would have. So I had to do it myself, Wren said, with the complete, calm logic of a 5-year-old who has correctly identified a procedural gap in the adult approval system. Clara straightened. She looked at Nathan across the kitchen. She was 35 years old. She was, as she had always been, someone who wore her composure like a well-made coat, not armor, exactly, but the specific considered presentation of a person who has decided what she will and won't show, and has maintained that decision under conditions that would have undone most people's composure entirely. But she also had, in this particular moment, the expression of someone standing in a place they had long known they would eventually have to stand, and who has stopped pretending they did not know it was coming. I need to tell you something, she said. I think I already know, Nathan said quietly. A pause. Wren, Clara said. Can you give us a few minutes? Wren looked at Gerald. She looked at the toast. She looked at her mother and then at Nathan with the specific evaluation of a child assessing whether the adults in the room can be trusted to handle things correctly without supervision. Okay, she said. But I want to know what you decide. You'll know everything, Clara said. I promise. What Clara told him, in the next 30 minutes at his kitchen table, was not a dramatic story. It was simply an honest one. She had known she was pregnant when she left the agency engagement 7 years ago. She had made a decision, alone, as she made most decisions, carefully and with full knowledge of the cost. She had not told him because they had not been anything that required telling, or so she had told herself, and because she had been afraid that telling him would produce a dynamic she did not want, obligation, complication, or relationship shaped by circumstance rather than choice. She had raised Wren alone, which she had not found easy and had not found impossible and had found, in the specific daily reality of it, something she could not have predicted, that it was the most important thing she had ever done, and that she was genuinely good at it, and that Ren was extraordinary in the way that only a child can be extraordinary when they have been deeply, consistently loved. The restructuring had been its own thing, coincidence, she was clear about that, not any kind of intended harm. Simply the ordinary brutal arithmetic of corporate cost-cutting that did not know and did not care about the particular life circumstances of the people in its columns. "I should have told you," she said. "I know that. I knew it then and I made a choice I thought was the right one at the time, and I've thought about it differently as she's gotten older, and I don't know that I made the right call, but I know why I made it." Nathan was quiet for a long time. "She took the bus," he said finally. "Alone. She's 5. She's very capable," Clara said, with the specific helpless pride of a parent acknowledging something alarming about their child. "She got my address. She's been using a map app since she was 4, Clara said. "I don't entirely know how to feel about that." "She said Gerald helps when things are hard," Nathan said. Clara looked at the table. "Yes," she said. "He does." He called his HR director that afternoon and reversed the elimination of Clara's position. Not because she was Ren's mother, he was careful about this, explicit about it internally, because conflating the two things would have been wrong in both directions. Clara's performance record supported her reinstatement. The position was valuable. The restructuring had cast a wide net and not all of its cuts had been the right ones. He also made a different, separate decision, which he discussed with Clara over a second conversation 2 days later, a conversation about what it meant, going forward, to be Ren's father in whatever way that could honestly mean, given a 5-year history he had not been part of and a child who had already formed herself into the specific, remarkable person she was. "I'm not asking to disrupt what you've built," he said. "I'm asking what it looks like to be part of it honestly." Clara looked at him with the specific careful assessment she had always brought to things that mattered. "She already decided you were her father before she took the bus," she said. "She found your name in some paperwork I kept. She'd been thinking about it for weeks before she did anything. That's how she is, she thinks before she acts." "Takes after her mother," Nathan said. "Takes after someone," Clara said, which was not quite a concession but was close enough that both of them understood it. Ren, when she was told, in careful and honest age-appropriate language, the full shape of the situation, received the information with the specific gravity she brought to most things. She looked at Nathan for a long moment. "You didn't know about me," she said. "No," he said. "I didn't. I wish I had. But you know now." "Yes." "And you're going to keep knowing?" "Yes," he said. "I'm going to keep knowing." Ren looked at Gerald. "Okay," she said. "Gerald approves." "I'm glad," Nathan said. "He doesn't approve of everyone," she said. "He's very particular." "I'll try to be worthy of it," Nathan said. Ren studied him for a moment with those direct, serious eyes that had looked at him through the gate bars on a gray May morning and changed the shape of everything he thought he knew about his life. "You made good toast," she said. "That's a good sign. And perhaps that is the quiet truth tucked inside a gray spring morning like this one, that the things that find us when we least expect them, that walk up to our gate and look at us with serious eyes and say the true thing plainly, are sometimes the very things we have been missing without knowing we were missing them. *A child who takes the bus alone because someone has to solve the problem. A mother who made the best choice she knew how to make with the information she had. A man who opened a gate and crouched down and listened, and found, on the other side of his own front door, a life that had been going on without him and that was, incredibly, still willing to include him. ****. It is never too late to begin. But it is always better not to wait, /br.